YouTube friends, my name's Jackie. Welcome back to Gone Potty Gardening, and I'm excited to show you the carrots I've just harvested. Right, so I've got some carrots on the table here that I'll show you in a minute, and yeah, I'm really pleased with the harvest. Now, I grew carrots in sort of the late summer, so these have been in the ground since then and only just harvested in the last couple of days. And I found I had 3 beds that were planted with carrot seeds. I used the tape, you know, that you get the seeds on, and one of the beds was rubbish and the other 2 were great. And the reason for that was there was a lot of stingy nettles in there, and when I was pulling up the roots, they actually spread in the whole raised bed. So I'll show you the difference in the carrots from that bed to the ones that were really good. Let's take a look now. So this was the harvest from the 3 beds. On this side, they're really nice sized carrots. Look, I've got to get all the mud off of them. Yeah, nice sized carrots. In quite a lot of those actually. I had the odd couple that had a little hole in, but there's nothing that I can't sort out. So yeah, they were good. And this was another one that was really good. Look at the size of that. That's my hand. And a huge carrot, isn't it? And that one actually. Compared, I'll show you, compared to the ones in here that are really quite small. I mean, they're totally edible, I agree, but they're nowhere near like the other ones. And that's because somehow that slipped by that bed without getting weeded properly. So yeah, now that one is probably the biggest one that I've got, and it's huge, really is. A perfect carrot, there's nothing wrong with that. I'd rather have a bed full of them than really tiny ones. So I will take my time this year again and make sure I thin them out to individual carrots. So my tips for growing good carrots would be, first off, your soil. Make sure that you sift the soil if you want nice, straight, long carrots. Even, like I say, with the stingy nettles in that batch of carrots there, even a plant that is not a carrot spreads out roots underneath the soil will disturb the taproot of the carrot, and then you'll get forked carrots. So it's a bit like being a bit house proud with your carrots, I suppose. Out of all the vegetables, spend a bit more time with them, making sure that, you know, the soil is right, keep them weed free, and yeah, that is a good tip for getting some really good carrots. Another good tip is don't add any dung or manure or anything like that to the compost, because you'll end up with forked carrots definitely from that. So avoid any dung. In fact, every year I might top up the bed with soil, and even if I do that, I always sift it, which I'll probably do this year. So yeah, pay really good attention to any stones in there, or, you know, sift it if you can. It's the only way. I always found that growing carrots in raised beds, this is tip number 3, is better because most of the time your carrots are around about 2 foot off the ground, which you need to avoid carrot fly. Carrot fly get into carrots and ruin all your crop. Now, you can store carrots. You can store them in damp sand, or what I did really was leave them a bit longer in the ground, but you are risking it a bit by leaving them in the ground like I did. There's I've got a few holes in some of them, but I cut that out and the donkeys will eat them. So with storing, you can either do it with the sand, or what I'm going to do is I'm going to peel them all, blanch them and freeze them, because then we can use them whenever we want. We're always making soups, or, you know, I like to have the carrots whole when we have a roast or something like that. And yeah, so you always know that you've got carrots in the freezer. Also, you can make carrot cake. I was actually going to make a couple of them and slice it and freeze them. I did that before, it was really lovely. Yeah, so there's lots of things you can do with carrots. So I've got quite a few to peel and sort out, and I'll have to get on with that. So I'm sure I'm going to be out here a lot of the time peeling these carrots, putting them in a big bowl of water, and then I'll blanch them and freeze them. But it's lovely to know that you've grown yourself, you grew them yourself even, and you know you've got the carrots in the freezer whenever you need them. So yeah, there we go. There's a few tips for growing your carrots. These were the 3 beds that I had the carrots in, so I've weeded all those and raked it over, and they could do with a little top up, so that's what I'll probably do before I sow any more carrots. And I always keep them ones just for the carrots. I spent some time this week as well planting up the this bed with onions at the side, so I've got a few more to put in. These are white ones, so yeah, I'm going to plant them up. I think I said before that this area is where I've got my raspberries, but because I've got all this room at the edge, I'm going to make use of it, just putting these little onions in. These brown onions that I've put in here are called radar. So, and it varies every year as to how your onions do. Weather dependent, I think, some of it. But this bed has definitely got a nice lot of manure in it. So I'm hoping that they'll do really well. And what I'm doing is just putting a bit of old hay around the edge when I've planted it, because I think we might be having a bit of cold weather. I'm not sure, but there's talk of it. So I'm going to go along and plant the rest of these. Because I know then that that job's done, you know. When they're sitting in the polytunnel, they do get a bit damp, and then they start getting a little bit of a mould on them, so I want to get them out of there and get them in here. By having them in the polytunnel over the winter, it's giving them a lot of good roots, so it's a good start for them, you know. So I'm just finding a couple of little spaces in between the ones that I've already planted. There's the roots, look. Oh, great. And there's always this satisfaction that when you've done a job, you know, it's like, oh, that's another thing out of the way. Because otherwise, before you know it, you know, spring's here. Well, spring actually here is February. So we are in spring, and I've noticed some little bulbs have come up already. These onions are just quite mild. These are little white onions, snowball. I grew them last year and I pickled them, and they were really nice. So let's hope we have another good year, or a better year, you know. Like I say, it can vary. Plus these little pots that they're in, they dry out quite quickly. So they get a lot more moisture from being out here, which is what they need. It's always exciting getting your vegetables in, as it is harvesting, as you know, like from the carrots, you know. The only thing with onions sometimes is you get them where they get a lot of sun and they bolt and they go to seed, which is not great. You don't really want them to go to seed. What I'm going to do for the rest of the afternoon, the wind's picked up a little bit. It's getting a little bit chilly, so I'm going to put my coat on, and I've got a couple of more beds back there to weed. I hope you enjoyed that little video today, and I'll catch up with you again this week. Take care everyone. Bye. Why not come and join me on Facebook or Instagram? The link is in the description.